So we're gonna we asked Tony. We've been doing the containers all day today because we it's something that we want to do more of here. Greg Paige is real excited about the things we can do, and so we asked Tony if he could come out, bring out some great native plants like we talked about. To do in a container with Greg. So I think we're going to have Tony move over and to where we've got some containers and talk about some of the plants, tell about them, and
all right,
he and Greg are going to put them together.
Okay.
All right. We're going to resituate ourselves just a little bit. So hang tight, everybody. Should have you in position shortly.
I'm going to get dirty.
Okay.
You can talk. You can talk about the plants.
All right. Why don't we swap places? How about that?
Let's swap places.
Okay. All right.
So this is the final leg of the container journey today. 4 of 4. Tim is off cleaning up the messes that we made. So it's me and my new partner in crime, Tony. As Tony alluded, and with the theme of this one is natives in containers. That's a very hot, sensitive, tear-jerking, anger-inducing, cursing topic on any good day in the horticultural world. And I don't know if Tony has had the benefit of doing a talk somewhere and getting accosted about not using natives or using natives. I certainly have. And I appreciate that passion. As Mark is fond of saying, life is too short for boring plants. That includes everything, natives, non-natives. That's my take on the native arguments. I don't want to delve into that. I don't want to make somebody mad that is a native person that wants to donate money to the Raulston or to Tony's concerns. But staying out of those political hot waters.
Well, that's not political. That's I don't know why people try to make natives political.
Right.
I think people simply don't understand what native is. Right. Native is not a place in location. Native is only a place in time.
Right.
And that's what we have to get people to think about. It's just like people.
Yeah.
There are no North American native people, despite the fact that we label people North American. Everybody either came here from the Pacific Ocean or across the Atlantic Ocean.
Right.
So humans just have a need to label things, and right now we have a need to label plants as native or non-native, and that's just what we do.
It's the nature of what we do in plants in general. I like all plants. I like diversity. Diversity is the most important thing, and we have a lot of really good nurseries in our area. You certainly carry a lot of stuff. Carolina natives, I'm very fond of what they do. They grow great plants. And it's good to add to the diversity of landscapes. So what we want to talk about is taking that spin and doing it with some containers. So there's a lot of things, native plant cultivars that are available in the trade, and things that work well in these kinds of environments. Perennials do well in containers. They're used to that smaller plant environment, so it naturally kind of translates to that. So let's roll through some of these things that you bought, and we can talk about them.
Well, certainly for the center of a container, this is a yucca, and this is one of our North Carolina native yuccas. This is Yucca recurvifolia, which interestingly for years was thought to be a species. Now the DNA has shown up, it's actually a hybrid, but it's a natural hybrid, so that's okay because people seem to think there's a difference between man-made hybrids and hybrids that animals made, but in my world, they're all the same.
Sure.
This is a brand new one. This will be called Mellow Yellow. This will be coming out maybe next year. So this is beautiful for the center of a container.
Awesome.
So a plant I love. Another one for the center of a container. This is a really neat plant. This is an aloysia. This is Aloysia gratissima. And this is a very tall, upright center of container, deliciously fragrant. There's wonderful sweet things. The bees and the hummingbirds absolutely go nuts over this. And this will be a new one for next year. This is one of Patrick's discoveries in Brewster County, Texas. And so this is going to be called Punky Brewster.
Oh, it is fragrant.
Isn't it? Oh, it's
nice.
just, this is an amazing plant, and
Wow.
and nobody knows the species. So
How tall?
maturing out around 8 feet,
Okay.
but fairly
Maturing out at
thin
8
at the
feet.
bottom. Yeah. So, but in a container, you can keep cutting it back
Sure.
all day long,
Sure,
and
sure.
it'll come right back.
Yeah.
So another tall one is the native Penstemon digitalis, and this is a cultivar. This is Blackbeard, Blackbeard. Sorry, I'm Blackbeard. I knew that was wrong on that. I love these because the color is just incredible. So up against something like the yucca, it can pick up the color. See, it's got a little purple in there.
Yep.
And I think that just makes an incredible combination. These have sort of a light lavender, almost a white flower. And then once they finish, they can be cut back, and then you have a nice rosette. We always are interested in extending the season. And this is a great season extender. This is another native. This is our native, Southeast native Clinopodium coccineum. And this is a yellow flowered one from our friends up at Mount Cuba. This is their amber blush. It has these yellowish with a tint of amber in it. And this does not start flowering until October.
Wow.
So this is October, November, sometime you can go into December with these beautiful long flowers. Just an exquisite plant. All the Clinopodiums have
Little fragrance.
a fragrance, which is really nice. For fillers, hard to beat Adiantum capillus veris.
Sure.
This is our southern native maidenhair fern. Only one location in North Carolina. Is actually rare in North Carolina. It's not rare anywhere else. This North Carolina native is also native every single continent but Antarctica, the same species. So yes, that's a native, but it's native all over.
Sure.
But what an amazing plant. That's as tall as it ever gets. And this thing
I
will
love the
stay.
stems on that.
The stems are black. Oh my goodness, it's absolutely great. The beauty of this stays evergreen up till usually mid-December, and then it finally goes away around Christmas time and then pops back up in the spring.
You
But
can find this in our Cascade, correct?
yes, that's what's in your wonderful rock wall down there. It's just a great place for it.
Yep.
Another one that I think is incredible, another Patrick's amazing introduction. This is Asclepius angustifolia. And this is one we call Sonita. So this makes a plant about this tall. It flowers, it's already in bloom. It will flower nonstop through the end of October. And this, as we know, Asclepius, monarchs love this. So you will have more monarchs than you can possibly imagine with this thing. That just, the stems are great, the habit is great, it never needs pruning, it just blooms and blooms and blooms. Monarchs come, they eat it, it refoliates a couple days later. This to me is sort of one of the greatest new perennials to hit the market in the last decade. It's just absolutely stunning.
And I mentioned earlier today about the benefit of plants that attract pollinators. It's not just for the pollen and the flowers, it's for the forage at different stages of their life. So there's also beetles that like this plant. It's a good plant to have in the garden to attract lots of different types of insects.
Yeah.
And a pretty popular plant in the plant world. This one translates to a lot of people. Most people know what Asclepius is.
Yeah, but a lot of people grow tuberosa, which is great, but that can actually be a little iffy in the garden.
Sure.
And then they grow those running ones that, again, are horrible weeds.
Yep.
And so this is sort of the perfect thing. It doesn't run, it doesn't do anything bad. It just flowers and lets the larvae come in and munch it.
What's not to live with that? And the milkweed, you can see it's oozing the sap there with the common name of it.
So another tall one and small now, this is a new Schizocarium. The Schizocarium is our native blue stem, native to North Carolina. This is the first ever variegated one. Really incredible. This is chameleon. And so this will make this beautiful center thing. It gets up about this tall, very narrow, and it's perfect for the center of a container. And this has just been great.
Nice planted out. I got some of these last year and planted this is one of those things that looks good in a mass.
It does.
And you got multiple of them because that color really comes out and super, super tough. It's also one of those plants because it is a native. It doesn't need a lot of, if you mulch these, they tend to kind of flop over. Something to think about when planting natives. And if you're planting them in containers too, you want it to be on the lean side. They don't really need a lot of fertilizer, things like that, but really, really pretty, very aptly named.
So we talked about long bloom season. Here's another one. This is the native Hymenopsis scaposa. This is from Texas. And this thing is already in bloom in the garden. It will still be in bloom in December. It does not stop. That's as tall as it gets. It spreads out a little bit, maybe to foot and a half. But what an amazing plant to give you that duration of bloom. And it likes it on the dry side, not a plant you want to give wet feet to, but pretty incredible.
What about like a crevice garden situation?
Perfect. Oh my goodness. Yeah. It does not like water, so treat it really bad. If you're one of those that underwaters everything, that is your plant.
This will do well in my garden.
Yes. There you go. Now we talked about this earlier. This is the Pycnanthemum tenuifolium. This is the one we named Campbell Carpet. This thing just in the garden about this tall, probably about this wide. Some tenuifolium runs a lot, but this thing just makes the most incredible ground cover. And in the winter, even when it's dead, the old flowers remain looking absolutely incredible, like a dried flower arrangement all winter long in the garden. And just in the last week, we've cut it down, and then within a week, it's back up. So it's just for green mulch, you absolutely can't beat it.
This is one of these things where Mark and I differ. I'm not sure how he feels about Pycnanthemum. There's not one that I don't like.
Well, this one's not as strong as some of the ones he was dealing with. Yeah, some of those, especially if you had to weed it out, it does make you wish that you never see another one.
I like my Pycnanthemum like my coffee. I like it strong.
Yeah.
And there is no better plant attractor in a garden than a Pycnanthemum. Every kind of wasp and bee that you could think of. I've got some videos on my phone of ones just completely covered with insects, just to see them on that. And as it moves in the wind, just an amazing thing. But that's a good point of having a green ground cover. And this is something that would lend itself well to that.
Yeah. And another ground cover are our native ditchbank phlox. A lot of people don't realize that these are native. This is actually a new hybrid. This is a cross between two natives, Bifida, which is a little further to the west, and Subulata. And this thing just makes this beautiful little rosette, starts blooming for us in February. And what an incredible thing. And again, completely evergreen. So this is like full baking sun. So it's just hard to beat the ground cover phlox. And in a container, just fabulous.
Good flower color, and I mean, that's dense. You can't see through that. It's so thick.
Yeah. And another favorite, and I just passed by a patch coming in here. This is our the native Erigeron pulchellus, and this is one called Meadow Muffin. This was actually introduced by a former nursery in North Carolina, the late We Do Nursery up in Marion. They found this growing in the wild, and they named it because the rosettes, when it's not in flower, look like a meadow muffin, which for those that don't know what meadow muffins are, in parts of the South, they're called cow pies. That meadow muffin was a little more user-friendly name, but it really does. It looks like a green cow pie.
I never don't learn something when I'm around him.
But what an amazing ground cover. This thing is evergreen all through the winter, and then in spring, blooming now with these incredible daisies. I mean, what a show.
There's one called Lyndhurst. Lynnhaven Carpet. Charles Crescent, an old friend of mine from the Delaware Valley, named from one in his garden. And what a rock star in a neglected garden. Planted in my border. These heavy flowers. This looks like an even, no offense to my friend Charles, this looks like an even better one.
They're different. They're both great. They're really super. And then finally, one of my favorite, and this is one that's become sort of a rock star in the rock garden world internationally now, is our native Biglovia, Biglovia nutalia. This is a fascinating little plant that grows in dry, crappy soils. It only gets this tall. It blooms all summer long already in bloom with goldenrod-like flowers, and it stays in this little clump. And it's truly one of the best rock garden plants ever, and it's from right here in the Southeast U.S.
If that didn't flower, it would still be attractive to me.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah. Great texture.
I agree. This is fantastic. And you know, just with this, there's a lot of native plant folks who could name a handful of these plants you know, the fern, maybe the Asclepias if it was in flower, the phlox, maybe the digitalis, but there's so much more out there that it's amazing they don't come by. I think people are more interested in the plants than the containers. So we promised everybody we'd go back through, hold up the plant, say the name, maybe the ones with the tags, we'll even hold the tag out there so they can see that because they wanted to see it. But I'll tell you, we were talking earlier about some containers and doing just single plant specimen containers. And what I love, and I use phlox sometimes, is right now I've got a variegated loquat in a nice sized container. And I don't like to have that bare soil on the top. And so I pop out of my garden because these make nice patches, some rosettes, which I did not know what a meadow muffin was either. And I plant that right there on top of that. And I'll grow my loquat for a few years in this container. And it's got this ground cover all winter, all summer with that nice green. And then right now it's starting to flower as the new growth is coming out on the loquat. Same thing with the phlox or ajugas, just put that on a ground cover down. So I'm going to go through.
Let's go through.
And
you want to call the name out?
Origeron pulchellus meadow muffin. If it won't focus on that, they're a little bit hard to read. Origeron meadow muffin. You can send me an email, or better yet, go search it on the Plant Delights website and purchase it.
Once you get on that website, you're going to be there for a while. It's hard to get off. This is that bedazzled lavender phlox you mentioned earlier.
Dazzled lavender. So phlox, the creeping phlox, up in the mountains. I worked at a nursery in Virginia, and this is one of those plants where somebody early on said, "Oh, that's one of those redneck flowers. They're planted out all in front of the redneck houses." And I kind of turned my nose up on it for years until I got mature enough to say, "What am I doing? This is a phenomenal plant. It's evergreen. It spreads and it flowers like mad. It's great."
Asclepias angustifolia sonata.
Sonata.
And what was the height of that again?
Matures out about 20 inches.
That's pretty good.
And so this is looking really vigorous in a container. And Asclepias tuberosus, I know, can be tricky to produce.
Ugly in a pot.
And is this easier?
Much easier. Oh my God. This should be a standard nursery plant. And I think when the industry realizes how good and how easy this is, you'll be finding this everywhere.
Here's a warning for folks. Asclepias tuberosa, the typical butterfly weed. Normally I say, if it's a good nursery, buy plants that are dormant. That's fine if it's a time of year when they should be dormant. I don't buy Asclepias tuberosa unless I see something growing, because I bought a lot of empty pots.
A lot of soil.
A lot of
soil. Pycnanthemum tenifolium. This is Campbell's carpet. Again, I don't think there's a bad one.
That one's not bad.
No, it's not. It's not had the same.
I will give one thumbs up for Pycnanthemum. Like a lot of these fragrant, real kind of resinous plants that have that kind of. These are often pretty deer tolerant, deer resistant. I don't think deer eat much Pycnanthemum.
Not much in the mint family in general.
And I will say I have seen the large patches of this at Juniper level, and it is pretty darn nice.
There you go. I'm not going to butcher the maidenhair fern. The Latin name is not good on my tongue.
Adiantum capillus veneris. The maidenhair ferns are ones that I really like. How many maidenhair ferns you figure you grow, Tony?
Oh,
different species.
Quite a few, dozens.
Doesn't even want to guess.
No, not without my computer handy.
Or Zach, right?
Yeah.
Schizocurum chameleon.
That's pretty exciting.
It is.
I
Yeah, that's
had
a
not
very
seen
cool
that one. That's a
Where
new
did
one
this
for
come
me.
from?
I forget who found it offhand. You can go to our website and it'll tell you who
Yeah.
found it.
But it hasn't been out for long.
No, just about a year.
Yeah.
A little over a year. No, it's one of our first variegated native grasses.
Yeah.
We don't
Yeah.
have many of those.
No.
And the yucca, what was it?
This is recurvifolia. Mellow
Mellow
yellow.
yellow.
Mellow
Yeah,
yellow.
mellow yellow.
Should remember that.
That's a good name.
I think, well, no, I know that the first 2 plants that I saved my pennies up for and bought from Plant Delight's nursery was a dwarf variegated yucca and a little selaginella that was like a little Brillo pad. I can't remember what the species was.
That's probably borealis.
Borealis.
Yeah.
Those were my first 2 purchases
cool.
And what's the name on this one?
This is Aloysia gratissima, Punky Brewster.
I don't know why I've never heard of this.
So I remember seeing this with you, Tony. This one, we
Yeah.
both took a bunch of, I got to smell it.
Yeah, this is
great.
pretty.
Yeah, that's
incredible.
one I can smell.
Yeah, this is a pretty incredible plant.
Now,
Yeah, the birds on it this spring was just unbelievable.
This we have planted over there.
Okay, awesome.
am I reading it? Clinopodium, Coccinnium. Which one is it? Amber
Amber
blush.
blush.
Oh, yeah. It's such a great color.
Mm-hmm. It is normally bright orange.
Yeah.
Hymenopsis scaposa, Travis.
What a great color flower.
And this, I was saying, as you were talking about this, photos of this with flowers on it.
Oh yeah,
12 months.
Oh my
all
God.
12 months of the year.
Yeah, it's quite insane.
And the last one is Penstemon Blackbeard.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the color on that. The gray skies are perfect today for this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, much of this, this came out of the nursery at Plant Delight's nursery, but that's because of the collections at Juniper level Botanic Garden. That's why this happens.